and start your first business and get it over with. And I say that because too many people will paralysis by analysis, and too many people will wait and wait and wait for the right time, and they're going to continue doing their market research or building their pitch deck. Or so if this is truly your first business, my recommendation for you is just jump in and start. Create an LLC, create a corporation, even if it's just a sole proprietorship. So I wanted to give these steps how you can just start your first business and just get it over with. So even if that business doesn't make you money, even if it's a total loss, if there's no success to it, it absolutely doesn't matter. That's not the purpose of this business. The purpose is to just get through the process first. This is a tried and true example of just practice makes perfect. You have to go through the actual physical motions of doing it until you'll be able to confidently do it as a professional. So get it over with, get it started. That's number one on the list, is open your first company. LLC, S Corp, C Corp, sole proprietorship. Create an entity. Entity is looked at in courts or in business settings as an entity. An entity is a person, ultimately. So if someone were to come sue the entity, worst thing that would happen is the entity would shut down, possibly file bankruptcy, and you as a person and your partners wouldn't get your houses taken, etc. All these repercussions happening. So this was started back in the days of trading. It was all around the times where they're building ships and going out on these huge expensive excursions. So if someone sunk a ship or didn't make it to the place they were going to, someone was on the hook for tons of money back then. So what was happening is instead of coming after the families and the kids and the children, the wives, no one was getting their money for that. They would create corporations, and it became where an entity was formed, and then that entity could be funded, whether it be by investors or partners and founders. So these were ways that not only could the company raise money and get the funds to go on the excursions, but it was a way to protect everybody involved, and everyone could sleep at night knowing that their families are safe, that no one's going to come burn their house down and threaten their families if they lost their money. So it's very simple paperwork in a sense to protect against such a crazy outcome back then. But yeah, anyway, that's when it was started. We're still using that concept today, and it's what protects us today as businesses. So get entity formed, get the tax ID number. Step 2 is take that tax ID number, go to the bank, open a business account, and you're gonna fund your company through that checking account. Talk to your accountant more. You can figure out what the best situation is for you and how to best fund your company and how you can offset any potential tax implications from that. And most of the time, starting a company is not going to cost you money in taxes. It's actually going to save you money in taxes, even if you have a regular 9-to-5 job. So this will be a great exercise for you to just go through the hoops and just jump through the hoops and learn the process. But more so, it'll also be, you'll see it'll come into play down the road to help you, even if it's in the smallest way possible. Even if it just means writing off the office space in your house and writing off 25% of your rent because you use it as a home office for your business, and you got real estate costs money, so these are all expenses a business incurs, is they got to pay for their office space. So if the office space happens to be at your own house while you're starting your business, get off the ground, there's no problem with that. The government's fine with that. So these are all things that you can, just your everyday life, you can get these perks. Step number 3, track all your expenses. And if you have partners, use Splitwise. That's my recommendation. It's an app you can download from the App Store, and you create a group. You add your partners to that group. You program it with who owes what percentage of expenses, and then anytime anybody puts an expense that puts money out of their pocket to buy something, to pay for something, an invoice, whatever, they also put it into the Splitwise, and then it's a running tally of all your partners and who owes who what. And it basically will simplify the expenses, so that way if there's 3 partners, for instance, and I owe one partner $100, but that partner owes this partner $100, instead of me paying him for him to pay him, it can just say Chris pays partner 3 $100, and it squashes everybody. So it's a great tool. I've used it in multiple businesses of mine with multiple different partners. It really helps any sort of confusion. It keeps the clarity. And if there's a fault on anybody, it's on yourself, because it means you forgot to put in the expense. So if you're not getting credit for it or paid back for it, that's on you for not putting it in. So this needs to be instilled as part of the partnership. If there's partners, you need to use Splitwise. If you want your expenses tracked and repaid, we're only going to do it off Splitwise. And that's something that can go into the operating agreement even. So that's the other thing. Back to point one, when you set up your company, if it's an LLC, you're going to need an operating agreement. And on the LLC, you want that operating agreement ideally drawn up by a lawyer if you can afford it. But if you get an operating agreement through LegalZoom or through an accountant, it's most likely just a boilerplate template type of operating agreement. You want to customize that to your partnership. You want to put in all the details of the partnership, both good and bad. The more you can think of ahead of time, the better. And this is where a lot of people overlook these problems and don't plan for the worst. Okay, so once you got your infrastructure set up, you got your corporation made, you got your tracking, you got your business account, that's your basic building blocks. The next thing now, you need a product or a service to sell. You need something to generate revenue and ultimately generate profit. So that's on you. Like I said, this video is more about the exercise of starting a business. So don't worry about making it some elaborate thing or the next best invention or the next, app that's going to go viral. Even if you got to just sell $2 things on Amazon or make a website to sell some t-shirts that you only sell one t-shirt for, it doesn't matter. It's more about the exercise. That leads me to the next step. By creating a product or service to sell and market, that's literally the heart and soul of your business. That's what's going to drive the engine. That's the gas that makes the car go. You really need to get your product, your service, get that dialed in, get that started, and then that way you can generate something. Even if it's something small, it doesn't matter. Just have some income, revenue coming in. So the next step, make lots of mistakes. And that's, again, what the point of this whole exercise is to make the mistakes now when it's small, when the stakes aren't high. The majority of the stuff to do, $1,000 business versus a $1 million business isn't that big of a difference. If you're going to become a bigger and bigger business, but even $1 million a year business is fully manageable by 2 people. It's not that hard. Once you get into the 10 millions, 100 millions, more and more money, you need a bigger team, but this can all be managed and scaled. And there's a lot of great technology and software out there that can help with it. And when I come across things that work for me, kind of like how I did the Splitwise, I'll make sure to refer it. And I'm not doing that. I'm not getting any sponsorships from Splitwise, at least not yet. If they want to, I'll talk about it some more. But the point is, use the tools that help make the job as easy and seamless as possible. That way you can just focus on what you need to focus on, and that's getting money in the doors and doing it as efficiently as possible so that you can retain as much in your profit margin as possible. Really, when you look at it like that, that's where the value of this exercise comes into play, because you're actually learning how to go through all those hoops so that when there is money at play, or when you do have an investor or a new partner or funding from somebody, you know what you're doing and you're not asking them questions or not acting dumb when you're like, oh, what's the difference between an S Corp and a C Corp? And you've gone through it and talked to your accountant already. You've asked them the questions. You found out the pros and the cons. You have at least some understanding of these things. I remember when I was younger, I was at a cannabis convention in Las Vegas, and this girl was talking to me she said, oh, we're going to go to this meeting. I'm sure that everyone there has K1s, not W2s. And in my head, I kind of laughed, and I was like, oh, and I somehow gave off that I didn't know what she was talking about. She's like, you don't know what a K1 is? And I was like, honestly, no. And when she explained it to me, it kind of made me feel like, wow, she knows more about business and stuff than I do. Just by that one thing, it's not a true statement, but that's kind of what I thought at first. I'm like, wow, I had no idea. I kind of felt embarrassed a little, Really what a K1 is, what you file taxes with. My point is, these are all little things that you can just learn and pick up, and that way you're not like a deer in headlights. You've already been through it. You conditioned yourself. You understand it, at least, even if it's a tiny bit. That's the purpose of this video and this exercise. And that's valuable because mistakes are where we learn, and that's where we learn the best. Just like a kid touching a hot stove, he's not going to do it again. But if you're being told, don't touch the stove, until you touch the stove, you're not going to understand why you don't touch the stove. So these are all important reasons as to why you need to make the mistakes. And if you make them on a low stakes playing field where the stress is low, you can actually learn from them, embrace them, and nurture them, and you don't have so much at stake. So next step kind of ties to this previous step, but you really got to learn from your mistakes, and you got to do your best not to make those same mistakes twice. And don't get down on yourself if you do. Even if you make the same mistake twice, that's understandable. You still have to kind of ingrain it sometimes. But really, 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 at all costs, avoid the third mistake, the fourth mistake. Consecutive mistakes like that is really going to just kill your time. You're just literally, it's like living in purgatory. Try to avoid the same mistakes twice. Don't get down on yourself if you don't avoid them, but also beware of getting into repeating those same mistakes 3, 4, 5, 10 times. Then that's just stupidity. You're not learning. So if you're not learning anything, this whole exercise goes out the window. That's what this is for. So on to the next step here. Number 7, the last step is any money lost, don't look at it as a loss. Look at is the cost of the knowledge. This is the money that it costed you to actually gain this knowledge and this wisdom. And wisdom, I've said it in some past videos, but wisdom is truly knowledge times experience. It's knowledge mixed with experience. If you don't have the experience to go along with the knowledge, you don't have the wisdom. And ultimately, wisdom's what we're looking for. That's why it's the old guy with the white beard that depicts the wisdom, because it takes years and years to obtain the wisdom, because you actually need to go through all these experiences to apply the knowledge that you learned. Now you can go on and teach that wisdom to other people younger than you. Same thing as if you went to Stanford and you paid 6 figures to go to Stanford Business School. That's an experience, but it's also all this business stuff can be taught both from online, from reading books, from just jumping in and doing it. Like I said, that's really the most valuable experience, because even if you go to 4 years of college, again, you're just obtaining knowledge there. You're not getting the experience. The other plus to college, though, is the network. You're going to be with a very, concentrated network within your field. So I'd say that college is a better aspect from the business point of view for the networking and the strong ties that you'll form over the years. But the true experience of being an entrepreneur and actually just running and opening a business, I don't feel that can be taught as well in school as it can be just on your own. Just open the business, go through the hoops, get the clarity, get the wisdom, make the mistakes, fall on your face, lose the money, and then you're going to be ready for a good solid business, with good funding. So I hope this video helps. I hope it makes sense. If you like this content, click the links below. You can check out the website, highchris.com. That's got all of our content, and it also has got all of our social media. Please follow us. Check out our other channels. We have High Chris, which is about cannabis business content. This channel, High Vibrations, which is about getting to the greatest version of yourself, self-mastery, entrepreneurship. Finally, our last channel, Crypto Chris. That's more for alternative investments. So thanks again for watching, guys. Remember to click the links below, like, subscribe, comment, hit the thumbs up, do all that. Hit it below. Thanks.